What's up? Adderall up in this piece. Got some more D&D stories for you. Everybody knows Planescape came out, so guess what? Planescape story. I'm a god, so technically I live up in Planescape, so it's like talking about my homeland. But ain't no gods up in Sigil because Lady of Pain shuts that shit down. This story right here is about a Cambion named Ein. But, you know, we got like a bunch of stories about this dude coming up, maybe 3, 4, 5, something like that. So if you don't like this one, well, there's a hell of a lot more. Maybe you learn to love them. Shit, I don't know. What's that old saying go? There's bad news and good news. What's the bad news? Bad news is ain't nothing to eat but shit. What's the good news? There's plenty of it. Anywho, name of this one is Who's Your Daddy by Montsho Shelby. A song of steel on steel played out in a bar in the so-called middle of the universe. A short sword crossed a long sword once, twice, then again. All the while, people from the melting pot of the multiverse looked on with awe. The bar housed wooden tables and chairs with an empty stage towards the back wall. At the entrance, curious cagers half turned their heads away from the holographic gaming tables they were engrossed in. The melee unfolded as beautifully as the act of making love. The two warriors danced the dance of death with the sound of metal on metal keeping the timing. Blue sparks flickered from swift sword strikes and clever parries like bursts of lightning. They moved along the modest crowd without a hint of recklessness. Their swords were so concise that even the crowd did not move, as if they didn't believe these two swordsmen were capable of a fatal slip. Both combatants stood at average height, and each wore heavy armor that shifted as freely and easily as the tensing of muscle. Their armor and swords were both ornate, with symbols and faces etched in metal telling a story. One warrior wielded 2 long swords with ease. His face was flawless as a child, and his skill was honed as a veteran. The other warrior was shorter and not as lucky to be blessed with such beauty. His face was of normal proportion, a bit rounder and softer than most, but fleshy reptilian scales snaked randomly around the edges of his face, and his eyes were that of a serpent. He had been getting pressed backwards slowly, and not until now did he realize that his attacker had been guiding him the whole way. He went past the mural of spiraling dragons spewing multicolored breath weapons and backed right into the huge statue sitting cross-legged by the entrance. His single short sword could no longer hold back the double long sword press. As he neared the statue, he realized his movement options were gone. Even in his heavy armor, he did a backflip and nimbly landed on the statue's head with an inhuman level of balance. The smooth-faced, longsword-wielding swordsman smirked with a hint of amusement, then leapt into the air to pursue. As he reached the apex of his jump, he levitated in midair and didn't hesitate to swing his sword. The reptilian-eyed warrior cried out softly, "Tex, help me out!" The huge black statue swung its arm at the dual-wielding warrior. He blocked without a thought. "Tex, that's enough," the handsome swordsman said to contradict the first, and the statue put its arm back into the resting position. "Oh, that is quite enough from both of you," came a voice from behind. Sitting and drinking calmly at a random table in the middle of the bar, an elderly halfling with a curious smirk on his face commanded the attention of both combatants. He wore only a black vest, black boots, and black pants, and though only 3 feet in height and weaponless, the two warriors halted their assault. "When you start messing around with Tex, then I step in," the halfling said with a fake sternness that hid a smile that he tried to hold. Okay, father," both warriors said almost in a rehearsed manner. "I have to go, but keep practicing, Ein," the dual-wielding warrior said while sheathing both swords and blowing long strands of hair from his face. The two warriors didn't even bother to communicate through words, but through thought and gesture. Ein nodded and smiled while bobbing his head in a sarcastic way that only they would discern as sarcastic. Ein had always been a bit jealous of his older brother, but it only made him try harder at everything he did. His father was a well-to-do burglar of no small reputation, and his eldest brother was a proxy to Yondala and Morden at some point or other in his life. Not to even count his half-human brother, the mage, and his mother, a Marilith general in the Blood War. He always felt as if he were trying to catch up to the rest of his family, but being the 7th child of 9, confirmed children would make anyone struggle for an identity. Come sit, Junior, the halfling Nigel said with energy. Where have you been the last 3 months, Junior? Someone yelled to the infamous Nigel the Lucky. The halfling waved back in recognition, then turned back to his son. Well, I was hunting demons in the abyss, Ein said while motioning for his father to give him his mug. Nigel handed over the cup, and Ein wasted no time in taking a sip. For your mother? Nigel asked with a raised eyebrow. No, I don't work for her anymore, Ein said calmly. Good, Nigel said with a smile. I never in all his years understood what his father saw in his mother. They rarely even fraternized. Yet he had 2 children by her. But as his father said, people in his business needed to keep secrets, and the secret of their relationship was one of the most guarded and under heavy lock and key. What do you have wrapped under that cloth? Nigel asked eagerly. How he saw it at all boggled Ein's mind. This? Ein said while handing his father his mug back, then laying the cloth down. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know I can't touch it. Ein flipped the cloth over as delicately as if he were taking his life into his own hands. After Ein unwrapped the first layer of cloth, there was a second layer of leather, and after the cocoon of material was peeled away, the prize was revealed. It was a blade of fine elven make, with runes running along the handle and blades so detailed Nigel was certain it would have taken a human a lifetime to sculpt. A moon blade? What you have is a moon blade, Nigel said with a smile. What's that? It's a sacred elven weapon. So, I could get how much for it? You could buy a mile worth of buildings and still have enough to be filthy rich, but you can't do that. Why not? That's someone's family legacy, and if you can, you should give it to an elf that could do something with it. Ein looked around and saw a male elf standing off to the corner and stood up. Where are you going, Junior? To give it to an elf? Boy, are you nuts? I'm in a female elf. If a female elf isn't impressed by this, she isn't into men at all. The two laughed together for a long while.